What's up, Canada? If my ugly face got to be on camera, and that means that there's something not being said, and it's got to be fucking said. All this talk with tariffs and shit, you need to realize your negotiators are the same group of people that didn't give a shit about you, your well-being, or your cost of living for the last fucking I don't know how many years. Don't expect them to put you and your well-being first while trying to argue and battle with Trump. Tariffs. Tariffs are import charges. They go to the country of import. Canada puts a tariff on imports coming in, like milk. That's the easiest example because we subsidize our farmers. We tariff the fuck out of American-made milk because they have huge mega farms in Wisconsin that can do it super cheap, and when you put the American milk on the shelf in Canada, it's cheaper than our farmers. We can't pay our farmers to stay afloat and then allow American fucking product to outsell them. In my area, I don't even think there is a single fucking jug of fucking American milk. Maybe Costco that I don't shop at. Every other grocery store, Canada brands only. We do that through tariffs. Canada's tariffs are 1,425 pages long in the tariff schedule. A lot of items have 0%. A lot of items have single digit, 2-3%. Cars, 6.1% on all vehicles that come into Canada. Any dealership you see on the lot, no cars are made in Canada. Built? Yes, not Canadian companies. That means any car company that produces the car outside of the country and then ships the whole vehicle across, that sticker price has 6.1% in it currently. Yogurt, which is the selective one that Trump uses, he is right on that. Sad to say, but it is true. 250.7% on yogurt if it contains chocolate or coffee products. And that is under certain terms like bulk packaging, blah, blah. Like it's not cut and dry. But all of our dairy has fucking tariffs on it simply for the fact of protecting our farmers. Yes, tariffs in the United States is going to harm Canadian companies that sell down to there. The American buyer is going to have a 25% increase into the cost of the product, which will be reflected in the price, which will make them buy less. It doesn't make them stop buying, but some will buy less. When they reorder at the store, there will be less from Canada. Yes, we are going to feel that. Taking the approach of boycotting and stopping sales or imports, etc., how is it that 25% to the American buyer in increases is going to destroy Canada's economy, yet you want to shut down completely? So you'd rather sell nothing instead of sell with a 25% increase. Smart. Canada's not in the same position as the United States. You can't take the same strategy. Why the US is doing it? I'll get to that. Every country uses tariffs. Canada is not in a position to start replacing all of its imports with Canadian-made stuff. We don't have the industry here. Mostly because it's all been regulated and taxed away, and any investments they want to try and put 67% capital gains tax. Okay, you give me $1 million, I make you an extra $1 million plus pay back your loan. So you make $1 million profit, and you're going to give $670,000 of it to the government of Canada. Why? So of course you're not going to give me the $1 million. Of course I'm not going to make the business. We're not going to fucking make the $1 million for your profit, and the government's not going to collect the $670,000. Luckily they fucking scrapped that because they weren't allowed to implement it. By increasing a tariff on the United States, promotes them to to buy American. That's the whole goal of a tariff. The United States makes stuff, but the imports are cheaper. The imports sell more. The easiest example is the fucking cheap Chinese stuff that you would see at Walmart. And because that stuff sells more, people don't buy from the American made. And that means that company closes. And those jobs are gone. And that's why they said over the last few decades of all these jobs being sent to China, blah, 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 blah. That's the logical explanation how it actually happens. By putting a tariff on the imported one, you raise the price up so it's the same price as the American made. The American made sells more, they hire more American workers. So Mr. Make America Great Again, all he sees is fucking more sales from companies and more workers. That's his job. Logically, I get it. The thing that people are leaving out is the first time he said tariffs. Remember the fucking interview where he said, I love the word tariffs. He also said right after it, that way the government gets funded and you don't need income tax. So you cut the government bullshit. You charge more on the imports, which gets paid by the buyers. The people that want that item, yes, they're going to pay more. But if you reduce their income tax, they're still coming ahead. Strategically, the President of the United States, his job is to make his country the best he can. His job is not to run the American country in the best interest of Canada. That's Trudeau's job. Was. And he ran it into the ground. Anything that you had to fucking pay for to get by in life was taxed, regulated, increased in cost, inflation, interest rates, carbon tax again and again and again. They don't care about your well-being, and that's at the negotiating table, trying to negotiate with the world's biggest businessman at this point in time. Like, you can't go up there and say that a 25% increase is going to destroy our country when you've been running it for 9 years. That's your economy. And you just went down to fucking Florida a couple months ago and cried that your economy can't survive with a 25% increase causing a loss in sales. That doesn't mean shut off sales. That's a loss because some people won't pay the 25%. If our economy was worth anything, you could have went down there and said, go ahead, bring it on. Our fucking economy's awesome, man. We can handle it. Your people love our shit. They're still gonna buy it. But no, you go down there and fucking cry. And then Danielle Smith goes down. And there's a pause on tariffs. Good job. Then fucking Socks goes out and fucking shoots his mouth off again. And the tariffs are back on. And then she goes back down. And there's a pause on tariffs. And then Socks goes out and fucking says, Donald, you're dumb. Genius idea, dipshit. Go call him dumb. Yeah, good. Now tariffs are back on. Like, oh, Doug Ford says we're gonna fucking ban all fucking electricity to the United States. What do you think then? Well, that's a war crime, actually, according to international law. Apparently, I haven't specifically read that law. I always do like to go and fucking actually read the law itself so I can always reference it. Even Mark Carney stated, which many people have also said the same, Israel cutting off power to Palestine is a war crime. If it's a war crime there, it's a war crime here. So we're going to boycott liquor. Okay? And then what's America going to boycott? Back again. You're going to do this shit, and what you're going to cause is instead of selling less, you're going to sell nothing. And we don't make enough stuff in Canada to fucking take away the shit you're boycotting. To make up for it. We just don't make the stuff. What's next? We'll boycott liquor, we'll boycott this, we'll boycott that, and then what? Cars? You want to shut down all those car dealerships across the country? You're already increasing the tariff on them. Trudeau comes out and says he wants to make 25% tariff to combat Trump. We're not in the same position to do that shit, bud. You're costing us 6.1% currently. You want to bump that up to 25%. That means a $100,000 truck. You go on the lot to buy a brand new truck, 100 grand flat. That's got $6,100 in tariffs in it. Today. You want to bump it to 25. That means instead of fucking $100,000, it's now $125,000. Who's paying it? Us. Tariffs are an import duty. Section 20 of the Customs Act. All duties and import tariffs have to be paid before customs can release it. It doesn't matter if the seller in the United States pays it. It's still added to the price and whoever's buying it in Canada. It doesn't matter if it's a store in Canada ordering it from that company. They're going to pay the border fees. You ever order anything on eBay or a company in the States? You get paid a duty, right? You ever drive down the States and you come back across? You pay duty on your shit, right? Those are import stuff. The only way the government of Canada can impose a law on people is importing into its own country. Canadian government can't make a law on what Americans do on their side of the fence. That's not how it works. The only thing you can do is charge taxes and tariffs and fees and duties in your own country. That means it's imported. That means we're the one buying it. Canadian Border Services Agency, December 11, 2024. They announced a new system, computer system. It's going to save them billions a year. Great. They also mentioned that the border agency collects $40 billion a year. It's our number 2 revenue to the government of Canada. Take note of that date. You can Google it yourself. CBSA, December 11, 2024. Government of Canada's website. I have a screenshot of it. $40 billion. And remember, today's tariffs are either 0, 2, 3, 6.1 on vehicles, 11% on certain metals. Knives and forks, 11%. If certain metals are used for knives and forks, they charge 11% at the border. Why would government of Canada have that? Why are they collecting that? Got to collect something, right? At the border, generate that $40 billion, our number 2 revenue. If vehicles are going to go from 6% to 25%, that's 4 times higher. That means, let's say blanket, everything goes 4 times higher, and the same number still crosses the border. We still buy the same shit. That $40 billion is 4 times higher, means the government of Canada is going to collect $160 billion instead. Why? Because they want to increase it to 25. Why? They want to shoot their mouth off at Trump. You don't have to fucking admit to liking the guy to understand why the American president is taking a strategy of taxes and income and revenue on his own country. What you can ask is why he's doing it with Canada with conditions. And the conditions is the border. Think about this for a second. You become president of USA and you look north to your border, and what you see is Canada, who legalized lethal drugs like fentanyl, heroin, cocaine, methamphetamines, you fucking name it. I'm not in Vancouver, but I've seen enough goddamn stuff about Vancouver. I know what's in Vancouver. Every goddamn Canadian fucking sees a junkie on the side of the fucking road right across this entire country. Safe supply. Government funded. Your taxes. Supplying junkies. And that's what the American president sees on the other side of the border. You legalize dope next door. Your border agency admits to scanning 5% of its shipping. You don't know how much comes through because you don't check. And what he asks is to fucking secure your side of the border. That's it. Trudeau never even mentioned the border on the first 3 fucking press conferences about it while he's fucking shut down. He resigned. I don't stop. And meanwhile, everybody starts losing their shit. Orange man bad. While nobody's paying attention to the Liberal fucking party selecting a fucking international banker and hedge fund manager as our new prime minister, who received 0 federal votes. 0 federal election voters picked Mark Carney. I have more federal election voters than Mark fucking Carney. $125,000 people within the Liberal Party just nominated a non-MP. They selected. Selected is not elected. Unelected Prime Minister Mark Carney was not elected by anybody. If you look at the Elections Act, election refers to a federal election where all Canadian citizens have the right to vote in under the Constitution of Canada. And under Section 281 of that fucking Elections Act, must be a Canadian citizen and over the age of 18. Which initially, the Liberal Party allowed non-residents and anybody over the age of 14 to sign up and select their party leader. Selected and elected are 2 different words with 2 different definitions. A party nomination selection is not a federal election. Nobody can say this guy is elected, because elected would mean a federal election. I didn't vote for him in a federal election. I couldn't vote against him either. So 41 million people didn't get to choose who's now their prime minister. And he is Trudeau's #1 advisor for the last 5 years. During record money printing, record money on the debt, more debt than every prime minister combined in history. We had $500 billion. He put 547 on the debt. Then, like pre-pandemic. $40 billion budget in the hole. Remember that one? Freeland resigned over it, apparently. $40 billion in the hole is what we're going to spend next year. This year, I guess. Now. And they said, oh no, it's not. No, we got to go $62 billion in the hole. They don't give a fuck about us. So they install Mark Carney, who came from Goldman Sachs, international banking, and then went to run Berkshire, a fucking $10 billion hedge fund. Doesn't have to fucking say shit about his investments because he found some kind of fucking loophole that didn't have to let him. He doesn't hold a seat in the House of Commons. He has no riding. And the guy he replaced quit. without even getting into the fucking nonsense and the accusations, Mark Carney's photographed with Ghislaine Maxwell, currently sitting in prison for child trafficking to her boyfriend Jeffrey Epstein's island. And he's photographed with her. And his excuse was we bumped into each other at an event. Allegedly, that was your sister-in-law's event, bud. Don't act like you just fucking randomly bumped into her at Walmart. Why is your family inviting a child trafficker who's currently in prison for child trafficking to Epstein's Island? The same place that whole fucking crowd of fucking people said that it was a conspiracy theory and it didn't exist. And she's in jail for it? And you're with her? At your family's fucking event? Ooh. Allegedly, in Epstein's contacts, she has 7 phone numbers. If that's true, why is your family in the dude's contacts? Oh, and we just bumped into each other at the family event. And now you're going to run Canada with 0 federal election votes? The first words out of your mouth when the government goes back into session better be, I call an election. Remember, not my president? An illegitimate president? I think that applies to Canada as well. When nobody fucking got to vote for or against. You don't have to look very hard to see how all of our media just put all of their attention into Orange Man bad. Well, they just installed an unelected leader in Canada. The very minimum, that party should have to select its new leader from the MPs that are currently in the party. Not Trudeau's fucking right-hand man, who was there helping Trudeau decide all of the shit along the way for the last how many years? 5 or 6 years. Including that extra 25% tariffs that's going on you. And this is a guy that's going to change things? Every bill put through Canada does not go through one person. It goes through 170 plus Liberal and NDP people that vote yes on those bills. All the spending, taxes, interest rate, inflation caused by record printing, all of it decided by that group, including the right-hand man to the top guy in charge. While that economy turned to shit, bad enough to the point where a fucking little loss in sales is going to destroy the country in their own words. I don't mean to pick on the Leafs, but this is literally like taking the Maple Leafs, who haven't gotten in the Stanley Cup in years, getting rid of the shittiest player on the team, and expecting the rest of the team is magically good now. Awesome team. We're going to score a bunch of goals. Really? How many did you all score before? Fucking not a lot of them. Those same 170 people, for whatever's fucking left of them, because don't forget, over Christmas and New Year's, they were fucking quitting like 2-3 times in a week. Their own party didn't even fucking believe in their shit anymore. And we're gonna fucking put up with who their party decided to fucking install as an unelected prime minister that has 0 federal votes. Disgraced former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau endorses his right-hand man, of course. That's who wins, of course. An even higher-ranking WEF member than Chrystia Freeland and fucking Trudeau together. An international banker that runs a hedge fund. What's all that stuff about Elon? Oh, it's an unelected billionaire that's in there fucking ruining the Doge. All right. Can we apply that to Canada? Ours might not actually have $1 billion in cash, but he runs a $10 billion hedge fund and then decides, I'm just going to hop in this here race. I'm going to get 0.2% of the fucking population to fucking pick me. And I'm going to represent all 41 million people of the country. Right after this fucking party was already polling to go in the fucking toilet and was down to like fucking single digit number of seats. They were going to lose official party status at one point before fucking Trudeau resigned the day before a fucking non-confidence call. Even he knew. So after them all quitting, one after another, they decide just to shuffle the deck. And hopefully people won't notice anything. While they mention pretty much nothing and freak the fuck out about Trump. I think we can forget about Trump for a while and start focusing on what the fuck just happened to our own government. Because if we don't, all that shit you're fucking calling Trump is exactly what our government is doing. Unelected billionaires. Yeah, you're right. You are right. Unelected people running government is bad. And what we just did is literally like Donald Trump quitting and making Elon president. And every fucking one of you would lose your shit. And that's exactly what Canada just did. By putting Trudeau's right-hand man, his number one advisor, and allowing internal party to install him as prime minister, which they announced him as your new prime minister. No. He's announced as your new party leader, which the current government that is shut down, prorogued, they select the winning party of the last election, and the leader of that party is prime minister. You haven't been elected for shit. Straight up, you haven't been elected for anything. Because an election is a federal election in the definition of the Elections Act. And I think people better keep that in mind when we start realizing who's at the negotiating table for us. If the USA is going to destroy our economy because Trump's fucking nut, well, who's at the fucking table on our side then? And how much do they really give a shit about us? Because I don't think they fucking do.